cantina on Station 17 buzzed with the chaotic chatter of 1,000 species, all trapped in a sealed ecosystem and sharing the same recycled air. The walls were lined with flickering neon signs and advertisements for things that didn't exist anymore. In the corner of the cantina sat Sophia, her long dark hair falling in waves down her back, eyes scanning the room while methodically eating her bland protein paste. She had been hauling cargo in deep space for 6 months, long enough to learn that most things in life could be measured by how much they tasted like plastic. But that didn't matter anymore. She had survived, and surviving was a luxury few could afford in this part of the galaxy. The door slid open, and the room seemed to quiet for a second. In walked Tixel, a Thoraxian elite, flanked by his usual entourage of 2 bloodthirsty kin and a trembling Corax. Tixel's black exoskeleton gleamed with arrogance, adorned in gold accents that marked him as one of the most influential men on the station. His reputation preceded him. His family controlled the mining rights, the trade routes, and the protection rackets. He was untouchable. Tixel walked up to Sophia's table. The sound of his boots clicking against the metal floor echoed through the cantina. His gaze swept over the human woman with disdain, the sharp ridges of his skull glinting as he sneered. "Human," he spat, his translator voice thick with venom. "This is my seat." Sophia didn't even look up. Instead, she continued to eat, her spork moving slowly through the mush. She had learned long ago that the best way to deal with people like him was to make them feel invisible. She wasn't interested in his games. Tixel leaned over the table, his massive clawed hands slamming down beside her meal. His eyes narrowed. "I said, this is my seat." Without lifting her gaze, Sophia finally spoke in a calm, deliberate tone. "Didn't see your name on it." A ripple of tension spread through the cantina, the silence thick with anticipation. The Kryn behind Tixel growled, a low rumble of barely contained aggression. Sophia's refusal had clearly struck a nerve. Tixel's eyes glinted with amusement, and he leaned even closer, his hot breath like the stench of sulfur. "You speak to me like this?" he hissed, showing off rows of needle-like teeth. Sophia looked up now, a slight smirk playing on her lips. "I wasn't aware your name was carved into the food, too," she quipped, pushing her half-finished meal slightly toward him. The Kryn behind him laughed, their voices echoing like nails on metal. They were all waiting for Tixel to make the first move. The anticipation hung in the air like an electric current. Tixel's fingers curled into fists. He didn't waste another moment. His large hand shot forward, knocking over Sophia's meal and leaning his full weight onto the table. He bared his teeth and growled, his gaze narrowing to a predatory gleam. Then, with deliberate slowness, he reached for the small venom sac in his wrist guard, a tool all Thoraxians carried for ceremonial purposes. He popped the sac with a quick twist, releasing a foul yellow fluid that hissed and bubbled as it landed in Sophia's remaining food. The fluid began to sizzle, the chemical reaction burning through the meal with violent force. Sophia's eyes didn't leave his as the bubbling stopped and the acrid smell of poison filled the air. The Kryn behind him laughed again, this time with cruel amusement. "Perfect," Tixel purred, his grin widening. "Now it's fit for human consumption." But Sophia just sat back, her posture relaxed, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. She didn't react at all to the ruined food in front of her. The cantina grew eerily silent as Sophia stared at Tixel with an unnerving calm. "You're right," she said, her voice so soft it was barely a whisper. "You're the main course now." Tixel's eyes narrowed, unsure of what she meant. His smugness wavered for the first time. What do you mean, human?" Sophia smiled darkly, her eyes sparkling with something dangerous. "You see," she continued, her words slow and deliberate. "You might think you control everything here, but there's something you don't know about humans." Sophia's hands gripped the table harder now, and she swung her legs around with the precision of someone trained to move in tight spaces. Her body twisted in fluid motion, using the table's edge as a pivot point, and in the blink of an eye, her spork, now a makeshift weapon, was embedded deep into Tixel's neck, just below his thick scales. The thorax gasped in shock. His breath caught in a rasp as the spork punctured the delicate nerve clusters beneath his skin. His gang moved to react, but Sophia was already on the move. She shoved Tixel backward, sending his gang scattering, and grabbed him by the neck, lifting his heavy body as if he weighed nothing. The Corax standing behind him was already retreating, backing toward the door. Sophia took a step toward the now unconscious Tixel, her hand steady as she pulled a sleek plasma cutter from her belt. The tool hummed to life, its blade crackling with deadly energy. "Station security!" Someone finally shouted, their voice trembling. Sophia didn't look up. She was too focused on the task at hand. "Don't need them," she said calmly, lifting the cutter to Tixel's throat. "We're handling this the old way." Her voice was sharp, authoritative. The gang watched in stunned silence as Sophia stood over their leader, her eyes cold. "He contaminated my food," she continued, her tone eerily calm. "By our laws, when someone does that, they forfeit their life. You don't mess with a human's survival instincts." The Kryn shifted nervously, unsure of what to do next. They had no idea what Sophia was talking about, but they could see the lethal determination in her eyes. One of the Kryn backed away first, muttering under his breath. We'll pay for the meal." "Smart choice," Sophia said, her eyes never leaving Tixel. The plasma cutter powered down, and she released her grip, letting Tixel's unconscious body flop back onto the table. As station security arrived, they found Sophia sitting at her table, calmly eating her new meal, a plate of protein paste that had been replaced by the station service bot. She had a signed voucher for a year's worth of meals from Tixel's family. None of his gang was to be seen. The rumor would spread like wildfire. The son of a warlord had developed an intense phobia of humans. Sophia finished her meal, savoring each bite. Victory wasn't just about strength. Sometimes the craziest humans were the ones who survived. She took one last look at the chaos she had just turned into calm. Tixel's gang had backed down, and the station was returning to its usual rhythm. But in that moment, she knew she had proven something far bigger than herself. In a galaxy full of predators, humans had found their place. Not by force, but by willpower, survival, and an unbreakable spirit. Never underestimate the quiet ones, Sophia whispered to no one in particular, her eyes gleaming with a quiet fire. She didn't need to be the strongest. She just needed to be relentless. And as she finished her meal, savoring the taste of her hard-earned victory, Sophia knew this was just one battle in a larger war, one where the outcome was never certain, but the resolve of a human, once set, was never broken. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.